I just jammed my finger a little bit. I wasn't that wasn't to say what are you talking about. But why would you put Jey Uso next in line?
To put more conflict in the head of the table.
Well,
that would definitely be some conflict.
well, yes, it would be.
But
I just think Roman Reigns need to go through a couple more, maybe 2 or 3 contenders, and then get his shot, and then they can have a little feud with Roman Reigns. And actually, I don't think the feud should be long because for some reason those two guys come off similar to me. So
ultimately, this is what I think should happen: is they should just bring back Brock Lesnar, have him be the mechanism to get Jey Uso on board to defend Roman Reigns, and then the head of the table is unified, and then they can roll as a unified faction, and you could, and it's going to go into SummerSlam.
But I'd rather see, if you bring back Brock, I'd rather see him on Raw with Bobby Lashley, because that's the thing everybody really wants. That's the only reason Bobby even came back. And we've seen Roman and Brock how many times?
So, what's the name of the big guy on SmackDown?
Roman.
He's not the big guy. Big Show's a big guy. Brock Lesnar is a big guy. Bobby Lashley is a big guy. Maybe Big E is the big guy on SmackDown. And he's a little big guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I don't think it's a sign Brock Lesnar to a long-term deal type of thing.
Oh, no. Probably about, 10, 12 matches and max him out for like $80 million?
I can see him coming back for 2 matches. Just throw him against Big E, and if he wins, he becomes the next in line for the Universal Championship.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah, you definitely wouldn't see that. That would be a twist for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It's, to me, as far as the roster go, I don't know what direction they should go in because to me it's kind of the roster is kind of weak. Yes, that's
right.
true.
I agree, but I also think that's what's making SmackDown better than Raw. It is lean.
Right.
SmackDown is lean, and I think they're maximizing what they have. And I'm liking the layoffs for a couple reasons. One, all these people are laying off are just buried in the back room anyway. So they get to have some opportunities elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think most of them got that 90-day no contact clause.
Well, yeah, but still, they're going to go somewhere.
Oh yeah.
All right?
Oh,
and they'll sign they'll come to an agreement and sign it on the 91st day.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so they're going to get opportunities somewhere else. But then WWE, I think, is coming back into, they're going to have to be lean, and they're going to have to come up with a better product to stay competitive.
Right.
And especially now, you got to think about this too. Now they're talking about going back doing live shows.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do this again, you got to think now. You got Raw on Mondays, SmackDown on Fridays,
NXT
on Tuesdays, and then you got house shows every other day.
Right.
Other than those 3. With that roster, man, and then if they get back, the nation completely opens back up and everything, man, those are going to be some tired jokers, or you're going to have to rehire some people. Because
But you could rehire them at lower contracts.
That's true.
And because, I mean, you got to think, man, that's,
Mm-hmm.
you really spreading a lot of people thin at that point.
Well, to me, honestly, they wasted their roster because, honestly, Seth Rollins doesn't have to do 300 shows a year.
Exactly.
Use your roster, and you can give every wrestler on Raw 3 shows a month instead of 4.
Yep.
And you use the other guys and make more story for these other people, and you can be able to rotate days off, and you're not wearing them out.
Oh, okay. Yes, I can.
But so the tease Rollins, I want it, and we've seen that before, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So somebody else should do it. And then what everybody's talking about, wants to talk about, is Edge returns.
Yes. Edge returning, which was a surprise, but not a surprise because Edge, being the Royal Rumble winner, really didn't get his true fair shot the way it should have been done. But you're going to say, hey, it wasn't his true fair shot, but he did get a shot. Okay, catch 22, I get it. But now in a nutshell, we see what's going to happen at SummerSlam.
Right. So
Edge just leapfrogged everybody.
Right. So he is going to be the actual number one contender for the Universal Champion.
And I don't think he should be.
I don't think so either.
What you think, Chris? At this point, where do you think Edge? Where do you think he should be? He should fit. Where do you think he will fit as far as in today's climate is in wrestling? I just don't see him as a top guy.
I'm gonna say this. Let them have their match at SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
Roman Reigns beats him clean 1, 2, 3. Obviously, I can see some interference happening on the Usos part.
Some distraction.
Yeah, some distraction or something. I can see it. But let Roman go over, beat him 1, 2, 3. You're done with Edge.
Right.
And then you can move on to the next thing.
Right.
So
but at least give Edge that moment. That's what I'm saying.
So if I'm Roman Reigns or Paul Heyman, whoever wants to do the talking, I am saying, Edge, I see what you did there, attacking me, and you're just trying to cut the head of the line, right? You're trying to cut to the head of the line. That's not going to happen. You want to at me, you're going to have to beat every single contender first, then we can talk.
Right.
And so now you set up like 4 matches before you.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Let him go through a few people. Let him wrestle Seth Rollins, and
let him wrestle a baby face to another baby face to see who it is.
Right.
Have it be like, Edge versus Dolph or something like that.
And I mean, and we all know about his reputation. He's been around a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, even going back to when I was watching wrestling religiously. But he has to earn. I mean, he's been gone for a while. I think since he came back, he has to earn his shot. Man, that's just the way I feel about it.
But you gotta carry it. You gotta make sure there's something there every week, so that you don't destroy the return.
So always throw out an obstacle.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Keep
So you be like, oh, okay, yeah, you beat such and such last week, but now you got to face 2 people in a handicap match this week.
Yes, you got to use them. You have to use them, and you have to use them in exciting moments.
Right.
So the matches that he have coming up, to where he's building up to the Roman Reigns shot for the Universal title is very exciting matches, and need to have a little storyline around it. Doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be something really exciting. Like, I just now took out your other man. Now I'm coming for the title. So when am I gonna get my shot? I deserve this shot. Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm. And then he pulls out the cousin you never heard of.
I don't want him to fight either of the Usos to get there. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather him go through somebody else and save the drama with the Usos for some other time. I wish SmackDown had a Randy Orton type. The closest thing I get to a Randy Orton type would be Dolph Ziggler, because he heel turns, babyface turns pretty frequently.
Yeah.
But if you had a Randy Orton type, if he's a babyface facing babyface Edge, that would be an interesting, because Randy Orton will straight up cheat as a babyface. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't.
So that's why I pick a Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
But a couple of heels that he has to go through. Maybe he has to fight Shinsuke. Maybe he has to fight, I don't know.
And put it in stipulation, if he loses one match, the shots, all bets are off.
Yeah, matter of fact, you can even go and you could tease the WWE fandom, I think, if he has to fight Rollins, the winner gets the title shot. And everybody's going to think, oh, it's going to be Rollins because this is what they do, and then let Edge win.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So that's the show.
So what would you give it overall?
I would give it 3.5.
3. Yeah, that was
3.5
3
stars.
3.5. That's what I was gonna give it.
I'm gonna jump up and go ahead and take up that half, and I'm gonna give it 4.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. I can't argue. I can understand that.
Yeah.
I think what happened with the 2-hour show, it's cleaner, it's more efficient,
Yeah.
and it's a better show.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
And
right.
it's not a lot of dead time. You know?
Yes.
You're not like a lot of interviews. You're not doing a lot of filling.
Well, I was still
And,
fresh.
and the feeling was at least interesting.
Exactly. It
Except
tied
for the Nakamura.
Yeah, my mind was still fresh after I watched the show. It wasn't, you know, what I'm trying to say is, it still had me thinking about what happened in the matches and what happened with all the outside
I can see you
stuff and
because
everything.
I can picture you right now watching Raw. 2 hours in, you like,
Yeah, you're like,
oh god,
yeah.
they're still on this.
Oh yeah,
God.
yeah.
Oh my god.
And then I start mixing it with all the other shows. When I'm looking at Raw like that, I start mixing it with everything else. I start mixing it with NXT. I start mixing it with SmackDown, and then like say get all confused after a while. So I think Raw kind of like throws everybody into a tailspin as far as all the wrestling that they're watching during the week. But it's still good though. I mean, it's still good. It's just Raw. It just ends. I mean, you.
Raw needs to be 2 hours.
Yes, you ended up 1 week, and then you coming in and you jump on Raw on Monday night, and then it just, I don't know, man. It's just so jumbled up, and it's so it's such a mess.
If you watch it long enough, you can follow it, and then you'll understand the pattern.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
You know, I know that. I mean, because when I stopped watching WCW, and I stopped watching that for like a month or so because I got so sick of what they were doing. Then I tried to go back and say, okay, I'm gonna go back and start watching it again. It's just I started getting lost in all the shenanigans and all that, and I was just like, man, I don't want to watch this mess. And then it just carried on to the day. So
overall, SmackDown 3.5, 4 stars.
Yes.
It was a good show. I have no problem with the 4 stars, so we can give it a 4-star overall if you're cool with it.
yes, that'd be fine.
yeah.
That'd be fine. 4 stars from Straight Up Wrestling,
All right.
from the Straight Up Wrestling show.
So we're going to kind of switch gears here.
Yes,
But before we do, if you like this show, if you love this beautiful face and these other ones,
Oh wow! That was...
go ahead and give us a like. You know, subscribe, share, and ding, 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 ring that bell.
That's it.
So you can get notified when we have a surprise podcast or when our next episode is.
And comments.
And comments.
Yes,
we need those comments.
How many times do I have to say it? This is a show for you. We want to talk with you, not at you. So if you have any suggestions of what we should talk about, whatever that you may know that we don't know, or whatever we might have discussed that we might have missed that you might know, let us know. Write it in the comments, and we can touch on your comments. Because like I said, you are much as part of the show as we are.
Yeah. So we want to talk about Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorf.
Oh yeah.
He's wonderful, so wonderful.
Yes, probably one of the worst theme musics I've ever heard.
In all actuality,
that was an actual theme song.
actually I forgot about that song.
Yeah.
But you brought back some bad memories. Man.
But so, Harry, you're our historian. Why don't you give our viewers a little 2 to 3 minute history rundown on Paul Orndorf?
Okay, Paul Orndorf, he's 71 years old. He started wrestling in 1976. He's from Tampa, Florida. He was a very good high school football. If you rated him today with the star system, I would say he will be a 4-star football player. He was a running back. He was a running back in high school. He was legit. He's around 6 foot, 6'1", at that when he left high school and went in to play at the University of Tampa, and he's in the Tampa Hall of Fame for football. It's a small college, but back then they was playing a lot of bigger schools. Some great players was on that team. So he played football. He played fullback in college. Then he went and tried out. I think the New Orleans Saints drafted him in the 12th round. He didn't make the New Orleans Saints, and I think he tried out for the Minnesota Vikings. He didn't make that team, but he ended up playing in the next couple years in an old league called the World Football League. That was out in 1975. He played 1 year in that league, and then they folded. The whole league folded, and so he was watching wrestling, and he said he really didn't care for wrestling. Everything looked fake and phony to him or whatever. But one morning him and a friend, they was at a hotel, and he just kept watching it. He said he kept flipping wrestling on, and he said for weeks, and he just started pointing. He said, I could do this, I could do that, and then he was going down to this gym. It was a gym that he used to like to visit, and it was a guy who was a bodybuilder.
So anyway,
yes,
for his wrestling, so that's how he got into wrestling.
Excuse me.
And so he got into wrestling. I remember him back in, I don't know, I remember him probably Mid-South Wrestling 78, 80 time period, but he started, like you said, 76. Where did he get his start?
And he was the Florida Championship area. But let me get back real quick. It was a guy who was a bodybuilder. I forgot his name, who owned the gym, but he was a noted bodybuilder. And Paul Orndorf said, I want to look like this guy. So this guy took him under his wing, and he started training him and all that. And Paul Orndorf told him, because he kind of pretty much after the WFL folded, he said, I would like to be a wrestler. So he said, I'm going to get you in touch with somebody. And that's when he met up with the legendary, he introduced him to the legendary Eddie Graham, who owned the Florida territory. And Eddie Graham set him up to be trained by Hiro Matsuda, who trained Hulk Hogan. And Paul Ellering was laughing about that Matsuda actually hurt Hogan. Yeah,
broke his leg. Paul
but Paul said, if you have to be trained like that, he said, Hiro trained you right. And he said he went up for like 9 months before they actually put him out there on the road. But Matsuda, that's the kind of training they got back then. So, but yeah, he started in Florida Championship Wrestling, and he wrestled there for maybe a year, and then he went and wrestled in Bill Watts territory. I think he went to Mid-South Wrestling, yeah.
Jim Ross.
And to 78, I think up until 78. Did you see him back then? I know you was young.
I did see him back then, because I remember he used to fight with Ted DiBiase, Junkyard Dog.
Yes. There's a promo. I think I got a poster of him when he was wrestling Junkyard Dog at one of the matches.
So currently, he's through football and through wrestling, he had concussions, and so those concussions are catching up to him. He has CTE. He's in bad condition. They're expecting him to pass here shortly, maybe days. So wanted to just kind of do a little tribute to him, and kind of, what's your memories of him? What's the first memory that comes to mind when you think of him?
WrestleMania 1.
Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, WrestleMania 1, when he was holding Hogan, and Orndorff came off the second turnbuckle with the cast and missed Hogan and hit Orndorff in the head, and Hogan got the pin on Orndorff. And then I would say later on, obviously, all the Saturday night main events and the wrestling fest shows, TV tapes. And then we go all the way to the 90s. We're skipping some years, going to the 90s. And that spike pile driver that he did on Anderson.
But he is the king of the pile driver.
Yes,
my goodness.
I forgot who he was with. He was with a faction. They were feuding against the Horsemen. And they got the best of the Horsemen.
I remember that.
They got the best of the Horsemen, and they started beating on Orange.
Was he with Kevin Sullivan at the time?
I don't know.
Paulie Dangerously, the Dangerous Alliance. I think. Now, okay, I could be wrong.
Okay.
Now, if you know, give us a comment if you have any idea of which faction he was in at that time. But the first time I saw him was 1978. He was in the Mid-Atlantic area, Jim Crockett Promotions. He came in and he teamed up with Jimmy Snuka. Jimmy Snuka had been in the business, I think, around 10 years at that time. Jimmy Snuka started out in '68. Even though he looked younger, I thought he was younger than that, but Snuka had been around for a while. And Paul Orndorf, he was a great physical specimen. Ric Flair told him he had said to him that he think he has one of the top 3 or 4 bodies of all time in wrestling. I'm not gonna. I say he's in the top 7. My thing, when he came to the NWA, when he came to the Mid-Atlantic area, he was a good wrestler. He was a decent wrestler, but during that tag team, Jimmy Snuka was the workhorse of the tag team. Jimmy Snuka had a better body, in my opinion, than Paul Orndorf. Jimmy Snuka was cut, man. At that time, to me, Jimmy Snuka had the best body in the business. And I mean, Jimmy Snuka was exciting. So they pretty much was putting him over more than they was putting Orndorf over. But I remember Orndorf, they beat the Anderson brothers, Ole and Gene Anderson. And then they defeated Greg Valentine and Baron von Raschke for the World Tag Team Champion title. So they became the NWA Tag Team Champions, and they held that title for I think a year or so, or half a year. And then they ended up losing that, and I think Jimmy Snuka became a solo wrestler. Paul Orndorf was solo for a while, and then he ended up going back to the Mid-South. But he showcased himself well. And then a little bit later on, I didn't see him for a while because he went back to the Mid-South around 79, 80. He went back to the Mid-South, and I didn't see him again until, I guess, around 83 when he was in the WWE, which was the WWF at that time. And then a little bit later, he became Mr. Wonderful, and he started started teaming up with Roddy Piper, and started feuding with Hulk Hogan. But I don't know, man. I was just like, wow. And I always saw him as a good wrestler because Paul Orndorf, technically sound. He had power, man. That like I said, that power driver, he can do it in any shape, form, and man, he can really
Without
take somebody out. Exactly.
Without breaking your neck.
He knew what he was doing.
And then he got, like I say, he got into that feud with Hogan. And I understood. I was like, Hogan's got to be the top man in this in the business, in the WWF. He had to be the top man because he was so over. Because Hogan was in Rocky. He was in Rocky Rocky 3, and man, he was just.
That was one of my favorite Rockies.
Yeah, so like I said, they wasn't gonna let anybody beat him. But back at that time, I didn't really understand. You know, I believed everything in wrestling, which most people did. Most young people did.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
We know Orndorf was a phenomenal specimen physically, athletically. He could do it all.
Right.
Could you see him being the top guy as a champion at that time?
At that time, I was hoping that he would win the title, but I didn't think he's not the type of guy to hold the title for a long time. But he's somebody who could go in there in the WWF at the time, WWE. He should have been able to win the title from Hogan, and then maybe Hogan take it back, and then he win it maybe one more time, at least be a 2-time champion or whatever. He was that. He had the fans hating him so much at that time that I actually think he could have pulled it off. I mean, Hogan was so big.
Okay.
But
let me ask you this then.
Go ahead.
Do you think he needed the championship? Because at that time you had so many superstars that could have been champion that didn't even get a championship shot. They could have been champion. So do you think he needed to be champion?
I think he should have been. He needed to be champion over Hogan because I looked at who was the better wrestler, and Orndorf was definitely a better wrestler than Hogan. I didn't like Hogan beating everybody with a leg drop, and I'm like, he's not gonna beat this guy with a leg drop. But
Ernie Ladd did.
Huh?
Ernie Ladd beat everybody with a leg drop.
Ooh.
Yes. Well, Ernie Ladd did a lot more before he beat him with the leg drop, though. Ernie Ladd was a great wrestler in my eyes. I mean, but Ernie Ladd will set you up with before he did that. Ernie Ladd was he always had something in his thumb. Man, he got you choking and everything like that. So you had no air when he would hit you with that, man. He throw you to the rope.
So he
hit
took,
you with the big boot.
He took you out. He took that thing out of Thunderfoot's boot and put it on his
Yeah,
thumb.
man. Yes, man. And so he had you choking. You like, and then like saying he throw you to the rope, and then hit you with that big 17-inch boot, foot boot, or was it 21? One or two, man. But he was an actual huge. He was a huge guy. And man, then he knocked you out, and then like I say, he just come and finish you off with the leg drop. But when those guys used to get up, remember when they got up Ernie Ladd, man, they still choking. Mm-hmm. So them guys, man, they was worried about staying alive after what Ernie Ladd done to him. So, but Hogan, man, Hogan was he'd hit you and he'd kick you a little bit, and then he'd throw you down, and then man, next thing he'd come off with the leg drop. But I mean, it worked. Hogan's presentation was the way he did it was it was good.
So,
But we're going back to Orndorf.
I don't think Orndorf needed a belt. He was so over his head.
Yes, he was.
When he turned on Hogan, that was like the shot heard around the world.
Yeah.
Him
Right.
turning on Hogan, and he was so hated that there would be nothing to gain by putting a belt on him.
But it's true.
It's just like Dusty Rhodes very rarely had the belt because he was so over. You didn't gain anything by putting
Yes.
the belt on.
Basically like Piper.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Just like
Right.
Piper. He
Right.
didn't need a belt to be over.
Yeah.
So I want to share my thoughts because when he went to Mid-South Wrestling, that's where I lived. I lived Mid-South territory. So he left you and came to me, all right? And he came to me as a babyface, all right? And he was over as a babyface, and he was like, Jake the Snake Roberts was a babyface, Ted DiBiase babyface, Junkyard Dog babyface, and he was with those guys.
Right.
And so he was supposed to get a title shot, and he, at least the story was, he overslept and he missed, and they put and they put Jake the Snake Roberts in that slot, and Jake the Snake Roberts won the belt.
Mm-hmm.
And then Paul Orndorf turned heel and beat the snot out of Ron Garvin, beat the snot out of Jake the Snake Roberts, beat the snot out of Ted DiBiase, beat the snot out of the Junkyard Dog. So he was, he did hair matches with the Michael Hayes hair removing cream.
Oh my God.
He actually beat back in the 70s, man. When he first started in '77, he actually took the title off Jerry Lawler.
Yeah,
Jerry
exactly.
Lawler.
And then he gave it back to him.
And then we won it one more time. I think he beat Lawler twice. So I just remember that from reading from wrestling books and all that. So
Yeah.
So that's what he was doing, probably 79 to 81, 82.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He was
he's
fighting those guys, and those guys became famous in WWF/WWE.
Yes.
Yeah, because the thing was, man, after the territories were good, but they started drying up, and they were like, we need more money, and you had to go up north. You had to hit New York, man, if you wanted the big money. And a lot of wrestlers were like, we're out of here. And like I said, and then once the 80s started dying down, the peak of wrestling, if you will, started dying down to the 90s, that's when I caught them about the 80s into the 90s, and that's what I was saying when they spiked Power Drive. I think it was Arn Anderson.
It was Arn,
and they did it on the concrete. And whoever, like I said, I don't know, I can't remember, but ladies and gentlemen, if you know who or what faction he was in at the time, they were feuding the Horsemen. That when they did that spike on Arn, man, I was like,
for some reason,
yikes.
I think he was with Paulie Dangerously, who's Paul Heyman now. And I think Larry Zbyszko was in that faction at the time too. I'm not sure.
but yeah,
But
if you know,
Let
let us know.
yes. But
Yeah, I remember that like clear as day, man. It was just,
but overall, what do you think of him as, as an overall wrestler? And
in his body of work.
yes, his whole body of work,
Lord,
and
Hall of Famer for a reason.
yes, there's no doubt about it. Well, he's the only one of three wrestlers in every Hall of Fame, wrestling Hall of Fame. And like I say, he's in the Tampa Football Hall of Fame. So we give him much props, man.
Yes.
And like I said, and our prayers and our thoughts
To him and his family.
To Orndorf
to
and his
Orndorf
family.
and his family,
Yes.
and like I say,
Yes.
we're all hoping for him and hoping for his loved ones, because we know it's there's no doubt about what's going to happen, but
But we want to think positive as much as positive as we can. Send
Exactly.
all the positive energy out to the Orndorf family, and yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we're left with so many great memories of him, and he just he's one of these guys that'll go down in history that will be talked about forever.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, Mr. Wonderful, you know, I'm not sure if you're going to hear this or anything like that, but just thanks for all the great memories, for great wrestling, big influence in my childhood. You're a big reason why I'm even doing independent wrestling at a 51-year-old man. So thank you so much, and, you know, to your family and friends, just peace be your journey, man. Peace be your journey.
Yes.
So I think we're going to close out the show.
Yes. I'm Harry Bernard Taylor with my man Michael King,
The Asian Sensation.
and my man Chris Burton.
The People's Podcaster.
And we're out of here till the next time, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Peace.